measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken, we just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe. Hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a coffee, Patreon, crypto and thanks button in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patrons, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout of thanks and appreciation to Sven P, Curved Fart, Pablo de la Cruz, Smith Tools and Purchase, Level Plain Poem, Vitali Z, Colton James, Survived the Spin, excuse me, Thomas van der Zander, Measured Flat, Tiers Morgan, Mitch Kennedy, Rod, The Name's Burley, JMails24, Unamento, Iron26, Retro Bill, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Troy Shuker, Harry Blade, Mobile Max 777, Rob W, Del West Watson, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Abraham Mohammed, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, Chow Young Cat, and Dank. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Links to Patreon are below this video. With that, I will hand across to whoever is in Discord and Google, so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Dulcet tones, mic check.
Hello.
You.
You're a bit quiet, Surf Daddy. But...
Morning.
Morning, whoever that was. I need to press some buttons.
You all right, Neil? How you doing?
My New York Knickerbockers are in the championship. Basketball.
Good stuff. Oh, I was going to say I haven't got a clue what kind of sport they play with.
Yeah, they haven't been there since 99. In 1999, they got their asses waxed. So, but this is the best Knick team I ever seen. See what happens. What's going on the flat side? This is going to be a great show. What's up, Eli? See you later, Eli. Refracted, what's happening?
Yes, I agree.
Radio check.
Gotcha.
Gotcha. Not much. How y'all doing?
I'm doing good. I'm about to head down to Georgia for my daughter's graduation.
Nice. We're in Georgia. Come and visit me. You're only 2 hours away.
Augusta?
Yeah, that's probably even less than 2 hours away.
Next time I'm driving, I will. I actually have to go get my license from the DMV before it expires.
Uh, yeah, mine is in December. I got to renew my license.
The lady is like, hey, man, don't F around. If you don't do this, you got to do the test again, the this again. And I was like, oh, no, ma'am, don't worry. I will be back.
Yeah, I had one tell me if you want the star license, which, when you have that, you could fly. Like if you don't have that, it might be a problem getting on a plane.
Right.
Oh, I don't know. I'll probably do it.
Yeah, I just did it right away. Or they charge you like an extra $45.
It's all about money.
Yep, basically, because if you could charge $45, then then what's the problem? You know.
Are you referring to like a smart ID kind of thing with that star on the license,
Yeah,
or what is that?
They call them real IDs.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay. But if you have a passport, you don't need to have the real ID to
I don't
travel
know.
to those areas.
Because my brother does a lot of traveling back and forth, and they recommended that, they may not even let you on with your license and your passport, but this real ID guarantees you passage. So he didn't want to take any chances because he don't want to get in a plane to come back to freaking Alabama and then,
They're always
no, you can't come in.
they're always trolling. They called it a real ID. Come on.
Yeah, what the hell have I got, a fake one?
I just feel like they're going to keep, you're going to just see more and more of that happen as far as those requirements to either travel. I mean, you can just kind of see that kind of stuff coming, I guess, I don't know. Just my opinion.
For sure.
Okay.
Yep.
We want to know everything that's going on. We want to know what's going on in your house. We want to know everything that's going on in your life. We are Big Brother. So, Eli, how was New York last night? Was it rocking?
I have no idea. I was in the house with the baby.
Yeah, the freaking Knicks won. They're on their way to the championship. I was watching freaking New York go insane by the Garden, Radio City.
I heard also, so man, they really made it to the finals.
Yeah, now I don't care who we play. Not only did they make it, Eli, they destroyed teams on their way there.
I heard all of the Knicks hype. Oh, okay, so now I can get activated. Because every year, right, I get hype, and then it's so, okay. So I'm not an avid basketball watcher, obviously, but I'm hyped now. So
Yeah, but you got to roll when the Knicks are doing good. You got to roll.
Playoff like this playoff or Eastern Conference like curse, man, where they do good and then they just drop off. I can't believe that's why everybody's fucking going crazy. Okay.
No, we didn't just get there, Eli. We freaking annihilated teams by a point differential of 265 points in all total. We beat teams by 30, by 41, by 20. We were freaking just running through. The last two series, we swept. We swept Philly in 4, and we swept Cleveland in 4.
Ooh,
They only lost 2 games. What happened was the first series against Atlanta, they went down 2-1. And then since that moment, something clicked and they just ran 11 straight games.
What changed on the Knicks this year?
Well, they changed the coach from last year. They got rid of Thibodeau because he didn't play the bench. He wore his players out. Now you got Mike Brown in there, and they went through the regular season. They had a good regular season, but I knew what was happening. My cousin kept saying, they're soft. Carl Anthony Towns is soft. I said, wait for the playoffs. They're just easing back. When the playoffs start, that's when they're going to start. And boy, did they start. They are beasts. Every one of their starting freaking lineup could shoot. That's number one. We got a 3-point specialist coming off the bench named Landry freaking Shambit that has only missed 1 3-pointer in 12 shots. Only missed once. We got weapons, man. And we're stout on defense.
Damn. That is a sniper, yo.
So here's the thing. They said that one of the tickets, a pair of tickets courtside, is going for $532,000 at the Garden.
What?
Yeah. Now, if Wembeyamu, who's that phenom from San Antonio, if they beat OKC, the tickets are going to go out of crazy because he's like 7'6" and he's freaking lethal. So people want to see him, And then if they don't make it, you got defending champions, Oklahoma City Thunder. So it's either going to be the Thunder or the Spurs. And you know what? I don't give a shit. I think the Knicks are going to beat any one of them.
Who do you think they got a better shot against?
San Antonio.
Hmm. I like the Spurs.
None of them have a bench, though. They have somewhat of a bench, but the Knicks got a nasty bench. They're deep. They're not selfish. And we got a point guard that knows how to freaking play. Jalen Brunson. He's a small point guard. He's only 6'2", but he freaking distributes the ball. If you're going to double team him, he finds the open guy. They're just annihilating teams. They were going crazy at the Garden last night. Some of them short videos cracked me up. Those guys are losing their minds.
Right? Oh my God. What? I literally live, right? Like I'm on a 49th, so it's funny. But yeah.
49th and what? Where how long you been there?
Oh, like 2 years?
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I was working in that area. Freaking about 5-6 years ago. I was constantly over there, 49th and 9th. I'd park my freaking car and sleep in the car and go to work the next day. Because I didn't want to travel back and forth upstate.
I'm on 49th and 8th.
Yeah, there's some freaky deaky shit going on there at night, boy. Woo!
Yeah.
You better be careful who you're whistling at.
Right. Yeah. I look right at my corner. There's that gay bar.
Yeah. It's crazy at night. I used to see some shit because it'd be 3:00 in the morning. I wake up in my car, sitting back. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Besides the rats running back and forth across the street and watching people get scared shit. They'll be walking down the block and I say, watch, they're going to come up to this garbage section here. Because, when they put out the garbage, them rats are all over.
Yep.
Sure enough, you see people screaming.
Yeah, you know that block. Soon as garbage day, all the garbage. Soon, every time you walk by, they just freaking the size of your shoe. Just
Yeah, they don't care. They say you fear me, and and a lot of times you see the black garbage bags out for the sanitation. I feel bad for them because you see movement inside all the bags. There's freaking rats in those bags, bro. They're freaking rumbling through the garbage. And I used to walk in the middle of the street, like because I'd leave my car at about 5 a.m. to walk to the job site. The only reason I was there was because I get parking over there. I didn't have to pay for the parking.
Yeah.
So I would play the game. I'd get a spot for the week, and I would just freaking after work, I'd sit in the car. As soon as across the street opened up, I'd pull in, and that's where I stood. That's how I lived my life. Out of my freaking car.
Nobody respects a hardworking man now. They don't know. They don't know.
Oh, that was my rule. I am walking in the middle of the street because I do not need one of these rats running in a panic and running right up my leg.
Right.
And eating my
Right.
balls and shit because he's trying to get out.
Right. Exactly. Oh my goodness.
So what's going on 24/7 side? I see General Jerkoff's attacking them today.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's attacking them on some crap. Who knows? He jumped. I think he's going after DJ.
To be honest, man, I don't know. I like DJ. Like DJ's probably because like his looks more like the old approach, which I don't think there was ever anything wrong with, because when you speak to people, they kind of just, for whatever reason, the one thing they don't want to know is that the earth is flat. It's like the last thing if you want to have a conversation with someone, they just, you got to let them say what they think, and you got to tell them that's not true. And that's kind of easy to do with observation. Can't say that about the moon. Can't say that about space. Can't say that about the sun. But you can go, oh, that's not true, to things that they claim here.
Yeah, which I think all the claims go out the window once you establish that flat measurement. Nathan was there was the Uncut after show yesterday. Nathan explained it really well. It's like I forgot how he phrased it, but it was like you get into all of this. There's no sphere. What are you arguing about a sphere? It's measured flat. Knocks all of that other stuff out of the park. Like, what are you talking about?
It's like Globers can't hear it or something. I don't know.
They won't hear it. They'll say, actually, it's calculation. And yeah, they skip right past
Oh yeah, you have
it
to
ain't
measure
going
it.
on.
It's so big. Of course you measure it flat. It's really big. It's a big ball.
It's a big ball after all. So did you barbecue yesterday? Grill? You do any of that stuff or no?
No, I was my girl had went out to something called Wet Fat. You know, she's Caribbean, so she went out with her friends there because I had just came back from a birthday brunch party thing with my friend out in Maryland. So I just came back. So when I came back, she left for the day, and so I was with the baby chilling in the house.
What part of the Caribbean?
Trinidad.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you got a Trinidadian girl. I got a Guyanese wife. There's one thing I heard. If you come home and they're making porridge, beware.
Because she don't even like the stuff. So if she is, I'm like, what's going on? You know?
No, next, just leave because she can throw that on you. And that shit's thick. I learned that from my Jamaican friend. So one thing about the Caribbean women, if they're making porridge, don't go home.
Called a Tobago grenade.
Is it?
No.
That's a good one though. Yeah, he didn't even call them like his girls or his wife. He called them terrorists.
God.
He said Jamaican women are terrorists. He said, now if you're loyal and you're good, but sometimes even if you are, they get something in their minds, and right away they go to the stove and they start whipping up some porridge. So I was like, why? So they're going to feed you?
When
He
you
said,
hear this
no,
stuff,
man, they're going to throw it on
I've got
you.
to stop you. It really irritates me when I hear stuff like this, especially racial stereotypes. That is more a reflection on black men than black women. Black men are prepared to tattletale on their women when describing that behaviour. Therefore, it gets associated with black women because black men are tattletaling. When in reality, that's a trait of people, or you could say just women in general. Not black women, it's women.
I'm sorry, man.
There's no white girl making porridge. Nathan.
Not the
Stereotypes
porridge
are for
bit. That's different. That's not what I was talking about. You know it.
Yeah, we're talking about porridge because it feels a nice talking about somebody Mexican.
That's the example you use to say that women can be vindictive if their men are misbehaving. Well, that's just standard fare. Now, don't get me wrong. You're not going to necessarily get the porridge bit in there, but that's not what you were doing. That was an example to stereotype them. I just don't. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, it is true though. Like if they get the inkling.
Yep.
No, you're right. Some people get an inkling that you're doing something wrong.
Well, let me clear it up. My friend Don that was giving me this information, he had 3 girls fighting with him, and they asked him, "Who do you love?" And he said, "But I love you all." He was funny, man. Now these women, they could hold up the freaking wall. He liked big women. One of them was slim and pretty, and that's the one he really didn't care for. But the other ones were big women. I'm like, Don, you're freaking my size. You're 5'6". What are you, 170 pounds? He's like, nah, she's too bony. I need some meat.
I'm sure I told you about the Jamaican guy being interviewed, and he's asked by the interviewer, well, how many children do you have? He goes, 13, 11 baby mama. And then he pauses. He says, me a real bad man.
Oh, that's funny.
He extended the hour. So, I'm a real bad man.
That was funny though. That one time, what's a bumper clot? Get out of here! You don't know what a bumper clot is.
They were the majority of my friends, because myself, the Chinese, and the black community were in the minority in a predominantly Muslim area when I was growing up. So, you know, I used to go to Caribbean nights. You know what I mean? The church was mainly black women. I say women because it was predominantly female run, and I don't know, maybe that's just my memory because they were the most loud singing, I mean. But you know what I mean? It's one of those... I get a lot of Jamaican stereotypes from growing up with a lot of Jamaicans. I'm sure I've mentioned this before. When I went to my first school, I went to several. But the first secondary school, which again was 99% Muslim, there was another white kid in the class called Adam, and there was another black kid in the class also called Nathan. So everyone else has got an Indian or a Muslim name, and then there's two kids, one white, one black, both called Nathan, and one other white kid who eventually left. So it's just me in that entire class. Me and Black Nathan. Now, I didn't know at the time that I was the odd one out in that regard, that Nathan's a fairly common black name. That is to say, in the black community, people like the name Nathan. So you're miles more likely to find a Nathan that's black than a Nathan that's white. It's a far more common black name than it is white name. So when I used to go into chats when I was on the pull, I'd go into a chat room with my screen name, which is coincidentally the same name I've kept ever since, right? Nathan Oakley 1980. And, you know, you'd get brat brat, or something that let you know that the person speaking to you is black, and they're identifying and checking you out with a couple of words, black being what you'd say back then. And it's just like, okay, that's black lingo. You think I'm black, don't you? And sometimes I'd lean into it. Like, yeah. But most of the time, not. Because I was on the pull. So you just wanted everyone around to know, no, I'm looking for white women. Not even true either. Out with loads of black girls. That's just such a lie. Anyway, you know the point. I wasn't that fussy. Anyway.
How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Go New York, go New York, go.
Yes, while I was running around doing things in the pre-show, I did generally get the overall impression that you were talking about basketball for the majority of the pre-show. My apologies if you've just been watching the pre-show as a member and you're kind of scratching your head about why it's mainly sports-related content. I can only apologise on behalf of the rest of the panel.
Well, basketball, they do say it's the shape of the earth, Nathan.
They say the Earth is a sphere. That's the most ham-handed segue I've ever got to justify talking about sport on a flat Earth show. Because there's a opposing view and religious belief that the world's ball-shaped, therefore basketball's perfectly legit as a warm-up. I'm thinking no.
Well, if you look at the basketball, you got your longitude lines on there, your latitude lines on there. You know, it could work in.
No, you're thinking of a globe, not a basketball. There's no longitude lines on a basketball. What are you babbling about?
Nathan, do I have to pull up a picture of the sphere with their longitude lines on and their latitude lines? They say they bend, Nathan.
Yeah, I get that. They do bend if you want to derive a value that's based on an area of equal elevation. But that's not a basketball. The point is, right, you were talking about basketball in the pre-show, and my apologies go out to the audience, because it wasn't like Neil was saying, well, you know, when they sign this new player, the Knicks are going to do really well. They're unstoppable because latitude lines are basically the same on a... That's not what you did. What are you babbling about?
No, I did that now.
I know you... Well, yes, okay, fine. I can't really disagree with that. We are talking about that, but that's me spinning it into the discussion because that's all I've got to go on from the warm-up.
Yeah, that's all I got too. So, all right, what else you got?
Got the Feast of Nonsense coming up. If you're excited and want this to be like the segue into the preview, that's what you get. You get the intro, then you get the segue into the preview. Now we're going to get the preview coming up on this episode of Flat Earth Debate. We need the Law and Order music. Dun dun! We're going to be talking about the Feast of Nonsense. We're up to about question 30. Love it.
Well, speaking of Feast of Nonsense, my brothers were over yesterday for the little barbecue my wife had. Oh, my God. The Feast of Nonsense that spews out of normies is freaking strange, especially with this alien thing. I was just sitting there laughing about everything they were talking about. I wasn't going to interject. But, yeah, this alien thing has got everybody. No, they got pictures. I've seen them. They described them. One's a Nordic. Obviously, that was an angel.
I've got a video coming out on that tonight, actually. So about 7:15 this evening, UK time. I've got a video that I've just entitled Aliens, which we basically discussed on yesterday's show. But it was so entertaining. Like, there's not very many times on camera that I'll be, you know, really laughing out loud. Not uncontrollably, but close. I mean, I'm sure I'll catch a couple of times where I'm uncontrollably laughing. But this was just one of those times where it genuinely did tickle me. I thought it translated quite nicely to video with me laughing my head off about it. So that's going to come out at about 7:15. What is it now? About 4 or 5 hours time from now. So, yeah. Check it out. That's on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel as a premiering stream. It's about 15-minute long video. I also made a short video of the exact same thing. So what I will do is I'll play that for you now.
One is called Mantis, one is called Gray, one is called Reptilian, and one that looks like a human is called Nordic. So
what these have been conjured into existence with is stereotypes and archetypes. Right? Where can we pull stories of aliens from? Well, let's start with the Nordic, going up towards the Hyperborean up north where the North Star is. Maybe Mount Meru. Reptilians, like people who are devoid of empathy based on the pineal gland, psychopathy for the Diagnostics and Statistical Manual.
It's easy for you to say you got the promotion.
Those sorts of reptilians, like the reptilian mind, that's an archetype. Isn't it? Right? A stereotype would be the Greys, like the little ET aliens. So we've got the people beyond the area that we experience, generally speaking, but in the case of the Nordics, it's the North, right? The Scandinavians. In the case of the Greys, it's the stereotypical alien that you would envisage when you go to Hollywood and someone puts a rubber mask on.
Large, reptilian.
When it comes to the narcissistic endeavours of the people who actually control us, they're not aliens, they're narcissists. Cream rises to the top. That's why they're all monsters in politics. That's how it works. That doesn't make them aliens. We've got Greys, we've got the narcissists, we've got the Nordics. What was the other one?
Mantis is the...
Mantis?
It's like a...
This is hilarious. What, like the insect men? What, like from the 50s alien movies? When you get a guy in a foam rubber suit that looks a bit like a cross between a praying mantis and a grasshopper? Those aliens? Yeah, narcissistic recycling. They don't have any new ideas. So they've just pulled from, well, what do people call aliens? Well, some people suggest that the people who rise to the top and control the world in Western terminology, that's narcissists, by the way, that's psychopaths, right? People who are devoid of empathy, to boil it down to brass tacks. That's why they rise to the top. we'll call those the
reptilians, right?
reptilians.
Large reptilian.
Right, which is derived from the reptilian cortex. You got the foam rubber suit mantis men, you got the ETs, and you got the guys from up north, the really tall dudes.
One is called man.
That's it. Like that. That's the shorts video. Like I say, there's a longer version trimmed out from a different part of the show that's going out this evening, but that's like a taster teaser. Did you like that?
Nicely done.
Yeah, that didn't necessarily come from the Feast of Nonsense that we've been covering, but it is definitely Feast of Nonsense, because after the show yesterday, Len was like, you've labelled this show Part 6 Feast of Nonsense. I'm like, we definitely did cover Feast of Nonsense in today's show. We just didn't cover the list from some random Facebook. It's like, it doesn't matter what we cover in terms of Feast of Nonsense. Aliens, in the truest colloquial sense of the word, is right up there in the Feast of Nonsense. Like, I can even name somebody
Probably
who would
number
be...
one.
Well, I was going to name somebody that had come into it via that sort of route, which was the Morgile. So the Morgile was looking at things of that sort of nature before he got to this subject. Not necessarily aliens, but not even reptilians. I can't remember which ones it was that he was looking at, but it was something along those lines. I remember him talking about it. But yeah, why do you say number one, Neil?
One deck as well. He was into that Anunnaki nonsense and ancient aliens.
Yeah.
Well, because it's they push that the most. I mean, look at all the movies coming out. I got Disclosure coming out, a new Steven Spielberg alien movie. Supposed to be really good. That's what they push the most.
Summarised something beautifully yesterday. Refracted Curvature, John came up with this. All credit to him, right? So you've got a transition in most instances. I've just been writing about this, so you can read about it too when my book gets published in the very near future, a couple of weeks' time. Anyway, the notion that we've got a transition from flat Earth horizontal directionality in the form of measurements to vertical sphericity in an orientation. Now, when we talk about space and therefore the areas in the sky, the lights that are alleged to be soil, where these entities can come from, then we're talking about up in the sky. Well, there's a transition point. And John initially speculated that it'd be the Kármán line, but it doesn't really matter. The transition is in a concept as opposed to in a value measured off a flat Earth, which is to say outer space. Well, when I was listening back to the show to find bits to trim out, because I've been really enjoying my own show recently, so I'm listening to them a lot in the car, going to, today it was an art class, but wherever I go, I'm carrying the iPad with me so I can listen to my own show, as vain as that sounds. But there we go. Anyway, the point being that there's a transition from what is a flat Earth measurement, and in this case an orientation up, versus the heliocentric version, which isn't up, it's out. So when John, in a very profound way, pointed out that they have to transition, in his estimation, at the Kármán line from up to out to reach outer space, I sort of pondered it, and I'm like, no, it's not necessarily about, as I said a moment ago, the difference in value measured from a flat plane. It's the transition in colloquial linguistic terminology from up to out, which could take place at sea level. Sea level being a flat Earth measurement of an average, and the transition being that you can suggest outer space starts at sea level. What does that mean? Well, if you're going to transition from a measurement system that juxtaposes the vertical perpendicular to the horizontal plane of reference that Earth's surface is referenced, in this case with sea level as, you can suggest that that measurement that can be put in useful practical application is comparable or comparative to, if I could say it, you can juxtapose it with the notion that outer space starts at sea level. Outer is a completely different conceptualization when describing the notion of a heliocentric world in a sky vacuum. Consider that they suggest that there is no up and down in space, and when describing space from a non-fixed orientation on a ball, you don't have up and down to begin with, you have in and out with respect to said ball. So when you say, as a full statement, outer space starts from sea level, it's a linguistic bastardization of the truth of a flat Earth measurement to convolute that truth into a reification of sphericity described in a completely different conventional sense, with out rather than up. So shout out to refracted curvature. Very slick, very profound. And he dropped it in twice because I think he recognised that I hadn't quite got what he was dropping down. I wasn't picking it up at that point. But shout out to you, John. Very profound. I love it. Did anyone else pick up on that?
I would say that the quick way of reifying everything in debates and discussions about the Earth is when someone says, we're just trying to figure out the shape of the planet.
Well, that's just begging the question. That's circular reasoning. Yeah.
And it automatically deletes the idea of the aspect of the Earth, surface of the Earth being flat and horizontal. Just trying to find the shape of this planet that we presuppose.
Yeah, well, it's more like saying, I'm trying to find the shape of this plane we measure flat. Conventionally, they're completely different things, right? So conventionally, you've got the measurement aspect of horizontality, azimuth in the terms of directionality that can be ascribed, and then you want to convolute that with a completely different convention of in and out sphericity. So you're taking it from a practically applied and measured master reference capable of describing deviations in the vertical and superimposing on a sphere world that has no orientation to ascribe. But you've got to start somewhere if you're going to start picturing the world as having a sky vacuum. And then you can suggest, does NASA literally do, that outer space starts from sea level? Interesting, huh? Yes, Nathan, profound and fascinating in all respects. I completely agree. I pondered on it for at least 25 seconds earlier and then decided that I'd bring it up on the live show. I'm glad you all agree with me about this profound hijacking of flat Earth terminologies that are useful in practical application for navigation and turning them into spherical concepts that we can all visualise and even hold alongside our flat Earth measurement prerequisites. Glad you all enjoyed it and have shown such elevated enthusiasm.
We're enthusiastic. We're just speechless.
Is that so? Right. Feast of Nonsense. Shall we continue with our list, which I have actually got in a note format this time, so I can actually go straight to it as opposed to spending 25 minutes asking these guys to talk while I dig it out from one of our back catalogue, or back chat, I should say, rooms in Masterby called... I keep wanting to call it Skype. It's called Teams, isn't it? Anyway, right. We're going to start at number 31. No genuine 24-hour live feeds of the Earth from space. Straight off the bat, who wants to take that?
Well, first, that's true, right? I mean, or otherwise flat earthers wouldn't be making this argument. They've done research and watched it for 24 hours, and it keeps the feed keeps blanking out at convenient times. So that's the argument. It's basically going back to the NASA lies concept, totally skipping the fact that they're in a place that can't exist because of the second law of thermodynamics.
Right. Again, props to refracted curvature from yesterday when he's describing the various different elements of this show that's put on so that you, the public, can connect the dots and ascribe inferences that are hinted at but not overtly connected in the various aspects that we can visually see. So in terms of what we get in terms of a firework display, that's something you can actually cast your eyeballs on and watch happen. So you can watch a firework go up. Its alleged path being plotted perpendicular for altitude to surface level and measured in terms of its distance over a horizontal when you reference its ballistic trajectory to the planar surface of Earth and its flat linear measurements. So you watch a flat Earth trajectory unfold in real time until it vanishes from view. That's one scene. If it was a movie, that would be a week of filming, right, at a particular location, to then move into a different location to tell a different story. Now, the next part of the story is the stage show, where they've got men on trapeze, high wire, in harnesses, with the women next to them yanking on their wires when they get tangled up in each other, or they don't manage to make a full gumball rotation for you, the audience. See Dilly Gill if you want a full expansive explanation for how the magic trick, which is all it is performed by the cinematographers known as NASA. DILLYGILL. Excellent unearthing of the various facts in cinematography terms that's been exposed by Dilly Gill on his channel on YouTube. So go and check out Dilly Gill if you want a more expansive explanation for the stage show. And the stage show is being called the ISS. So if we keep it all in the same, let's keep it all in one category and start chronologically. So you start with men with telescopes looking at something in the sky. Then you have an alleged building of that item via launches that you can witness with your own eyes, to then have people on a set with high wire suggesting that they're in various sections as they're being built, floating around in an orbital motion derived from flat Earth measurements. A different section of that story. So you've got two stories, three so far if you include the original light in the sky that's being assessed, followed by the rocket firework going up to the alleged to be sky vacuum, measured with a flat Earth ballistic trajectory, to end up in another scene, scene 3, which is the stage show with the men on high wire, again in a flat Earth derived orbital motion at a flat Earth elevation at a flat Earth speed, when actually on a stage with a fake ceiling and lots of post-production whilst on high wire. So that's part 3. Part 4 being a pool with an item physically built here on terra firma that resembles the alleged light in the sky from Act 1. And that has men inside the pool who swim around the outside of the alleged outside or exterior of the stage show with the men on the high wires. So part 4 is unconnected but suggested to be connected to the internal shots shot at a completely different location. So you've got all these different scenes. You could even include an Act 5 where the men come back and then they have an alleged re-entry speed where they're heating up, and then, like in the cartoon, I think it was Family Guy, you know, the Kubrick character directs the cinematography of the capture of the lander coming in and splashing down. He tells everybody, cover your eyes. Splash. Open them again. And that concludes your story arc for something that, if it was in existence, we can take it as read that it is just for the sake of this example, would have flat Earth measurements attached to it for the orbital motion derivation that's come from flat Earth prerequisites and elevation angle measurements to the stars to form the orbital motion that it's alleged to be in, for the ballistic trajectory in Act 2, which would require horizontal linear distance measurements ascribed to perpendicular altitude measurements. If you're going to cross-reference it with the maps, then the maps have been measured flat. If you want to utilise the sea level that creates the topographical changes on the maps, you can also reference that back to flat Earth measurements for Act 2. Now, the whole purpose for that is to tie together the idea that what you saw in Act 1 is definitely tied to what you saw in Act 5. But they're all being filmed in completely different locations by completely different people with completely different outcomes for each of the different settings, and none of them are actually connected together in any physical, meaningful way. There's just the suggestion that they are in a stage show that hides or masks or subverts from the flat Earth prerequisite measurements that are being used by everyone in all instances, in every scene. If you've ever got a measurement that suggests it's connected in any way, meaningful way, to the Earth's surface. So that's the stage show of the ISS. Plenty of flat Earth prerequisites to be held, lots of different locations, and puts Dilly Gill's original concept to bed when he suggests that NASA are on the cutting edge of cinematography. They are. This is an exercise in filmmaking. In the outcome, they want you, the person watching this, to suspend disbelief. The belief being you, by mental association, could be the man inside the scene 3, where you're floating around. If you ignore the high wires and you do genuinely suspend disbelief, because most people aren't being told that they're suspending disbelief, there's no stage in front of them. They're just being told this is really happening. Obviously, they only go around in one orientation because reasons. You don't look to see the high wire if you don't know it's there. When you do, it ruins the effect. But you could still temporarily suspend disbelief, like I'm doing now, to tell the story with a narrative that's come from 5 different locations, with 5 different seemingly unconnected events, until you connect those dots together. And part of the process of making people suspend disbelief is getting them to connect these narratives together. That helps. It assists people. If you've connected that the firework is directly connected to the men on high wire, then that assists you suspending disbelief that you could be Superman flying around in 0G. And that's what this all alludes to. The notion that you could be godlike flying, as Superman did in Superman 1 when he turns the world's time backwards and you see the globe Earth from a sky vacuum. Well, the men in the ISS, they do that too. On the set in scene 3. While you suspend disbelief. That could be you. 12-year-old fat sniffers out there listening to this going, no, we definitely can go and fly around in an orbital motion. One day I'll be that man. I'll be Superman. For the time being, I'm Batman.
But so why don't you, Flurps, just go into space and then you'll be able to prove it yourself? Just go into space. You just don't want to go in a rocket. You're afraid.
We're in space. Space is length, breadth, and depth. That's what it is. Cartesian. It's just a box, right? That's what we exist in. 3 dimensions. So if you say go into space, I'm in it. Well, no, you need to go higher. All right, like a altitude measured from sea level. Yeah? No, I'm all right. I've been on a plane before. It was measuring its flight level with respect to sea level so that the mapped flat with linear distances mountains didn't impede our journey. So, flat Earth prerequisites aside, I needed to go higher. Yeah, this reminds me of chapter 1 in my book, where I explain the notion of me being on those planes, going, I wish I could go a bit higher, as I'm at the back of them looking out the window at a flat expanding plane below me, knowing that I can't see it curve, and recognising that there's a rhetoric that defies the suggestion that there's a measured 8 inches per flat Earth linear distance mile squared that would be visible. But I just need to go a bit higher to see it. What, up into the sky vacuum, also derived with a flat Earth measurement from surface level or sea level? Now, I'm thinking the stage show suggests that they go up to altitude, but where do we actually see the firework from Act 2 go? Towards the horizon. Oh, that's an orbital motion. Glad you brought it up. That was derived from flat Earth measurements also. You describe a radial value in orbital motion. It's been measured flat by either Alberuni or your equatorial minimum or the midpoint of vernal equinox. Averaged for time. Another concept that's been added on to this like it's an extra dimension. It's not. But space is something you exist in right now. outer space, to finally get to my point, is a convolution between the very useful and practically applied horizontal azimuth for directionality measured in degrees from north, to convolute it with an idea of up actually being out from a ball into a space where there is no orientation. Au contraire, we do usefully and practically measure the surface for altitudes in a vector upwards from the surface, from sea level. All altitudes are described from the ultimate master reference. We also measured flat. So to describe outer space, what do you mean outer? No, we need to adhere to our three-dimensional properties when we're measuring axes in the vertical to ascribe height to them. That's a flat Earth measurement, by the way. When we do, that's not outer anything, unless you can be hoodwinked with a little bait and switch. Bait you in with suggested measurements of Earth's spherical surface? No. We measure Earth flat. Altitude is an example perpendicular to a plane of reference from sea level. But what's that outer space? I need to go higher to reach it? No, it starts at sea level. So say NASA. Of course, we've got to measure Earth flat for that, making the orbital motion derived from that as a prerequisite starting point for your orbital motion a violation of the flat surface we're measuring. It's just a convention, immediately defying their stage show. That is to say, shattering your suspension of disbelief that you held to. And that's really all we're dealing with. When people brace against us, what's really going on is we're in a theatre with them and we're saying, Peter Pan can't really fly, he's on a trapeze. They go, shut up! You're ruining this for everyone. That's what's happening. That's the anger that we get when we point out that they're measuring Earth flat from sea level for their altitude, ascribed from the outer space NASA suggests is measured from sea level. Au contraire, definitely not in an orbital motion. It's just Act 3. What's that? You were really enjoying reifying the idea of you being Superman? Oh, that's why you hate me, because I'm ruining the show. Now, you didn't realise you were suspending disbelief, did you? You didn't realise this is all a theatre. You thought that you could be that man flying around in an orbital motion. And then I point out it's derived from flat Earth prerequisites, and it ruins the whole idea that you could fly, doesn't it, dweebs? That's why we're hated. We're ruining the suspension of disbelief. You've got to have good storytellers, right? To achieve this is no mean feat. So I had to study this. There was one of the directors, it was actually a Star Trek director, I think it's called Burkoff. And I had to study his book at length on how to stop yourself from alienating an audience. What is alienation? What I've just described. When you're in the theatre and go, Peter Pan can't fly. Shh! You're ruining it. Ruining it is alienation. Detaching somebody from where they were, past tense, suspending disbelief. So that's what we do. Interesting turn of phrase, given that we're currently focused for the last 2 days on aliens. But this notion is the reason we are hated. We alienate those who unconsciously suspended disbelief. And having this effect is jarring and uncomfortable. You don't want to be reminded that what you're engaged in, essentially enjoying the fantasy of, isn't real. Nobody wants the high wire Peter Pans pointed out to them. Nobody wants that happening. That's alienating them from their enjoyment of suspending disbelief. And that's what we are up against. Past tense, were up against. When we had to deal with the 12-year-old overgrown boys sniffing their own farts because they want to be floating around in a sky vacuum. They want to be rocket men. We come along and go, the sky's not a vacuum. Gas would disperse into it. It's a law of nature. And they turn around and go, you're ruining this for everyone. Get out the theatre is my attitude. Did we need to come into this theatre? The only reason we've come in the theatre is to ruin it for everyone else. Why? Everyone's entitled to enjoy their theatrical performance. What's that? But they don't know it's a stage. can't save the world from its own ignorance. You know it's a stage, though, right? Okay. So you want to walk through, pay for a ticket, sit next to a guy and go, you know this is a stage, right? When that guy goes, no, it isn't, shut up, I'll have your kids off you, you should recognise that it's probably not that good an idea. Just saying.
Well, and there's a difference in investment value. In a theater, you know, I paid $20 for a ticket and popcorn, probably more, and you ruin it for me there in the theater. That's a very cheap ruining of investment. We're talking about worldviews. We're talking about deep-seated beliefs. That is a cognitive investment that you're ruining big time just by pointing out the truth that here's how we measure stuff.
Yeah, I like that terminology. You use the word investment, which ascribes a value to it, when I disagree wholeheartedly. The only value that you can ascribe to this is the suspension of disbelief. If you want to suggest that the extrapolation of flat Earth measurements from surface level, also measured flat and averaged for sea level, to a light in the sky with an axis perpendicular to sea level is ascribable to an orbit and then useful in some practical way, I would disagree with you. I'd say no. What you can and we do actually utilise are all of the prerequisites I listed. Flat Earth sea level, flat Earth horizontality, and flat Earth perpendicularity for altitude. That's what we actually use to create the idea that we're on a sphere so 12-year-old overgrown boys can sniff their own farts while they fantasise about floating around in a sky vacuum, aka suspending disbelief. Now, us coming along and pointing out that, well, you're just suspending disbelief, that's not real, annoys them greatly. They would, and that's what creates the anti-flat earther, the person that is so put out by the fact that up until you coming along and pointing out that Peter Pan can't really fly, they were so immersed in their suspension of disbelief that it was real. They felt like one of the Lost Boys with their popcorn. Batman t-shirt. You ruin it for everybody. Calling the police. I wish I was joking. Right, should we move on? That was like quite a substantial amount of time on the 24-hour live stream, but then again, you know, the Globebusters / journalism did spend like 2 years on it, watching it constantly, so I don't think it's unjustified giving it that much explanation, because it is directly tied to the suspension of disbelief. Should we move on?
Next.
No actual photos of satellites in space. Pretty much the same exact thing, is it not? I could go through the same narrative in a shorthand format. You watch lights in the sky, subscribe them with a flat Earth description of orbital motion, violating the base principle of the surface level you measure to derive it, but ultimately suggests that you can put things into an orbital motion, in this case a satellite, rather than in the previous case the ISS. The narrative continues on the exact same path. The thing has a story arc, right? You watch the rocket from the surface level in Act 2 go beyond the horizon. Alternatives include watching a balloon fill up with helium and just let go as it goes up. Up being an altitude measured from surface level. So, you know, it's the exact same story. Unless anybody's got anything to add, I'm pretty sure that satellites, ISS, same piss in a different bottle. Anybody? So somebody's going to have to expand on this because it's one word. Number 33, lighthouses. Try to bear in mind this has come from Flatties, suggesting this is evidence in the positive for their position. Lighthouses.
I find it weird that lighthouse is number 33.
What, because of Jesus dying at that age? Because of 33 degrees of Freemasonry? Because what?
Yeah, the Freemasonry. So they're showing us in plain sight, with a lighthouse 33. You're not connecting it? Huh?
No,
Huh?
no, you'll have to connect it for me. No, I'm not at all.
I
Well,
get that
what is a
reference,
lighthouse
Neil.
for?
I understand what you're talking about.
What's the purpose of a lighthouse?
To light the ground beneath you and you being on a boat and the rocks that are on the shoreline that you'll crash into if it's not lighting the ground between you and it.
So it's there for a reason, right?
Yeah, to light
Okay.
to light the land so you know what not to crash into it.
Exactly. It's for seafarers, right?
Yes.
And that lighthouse. How are we able to see it?
That's a bit of a question proof. How's this connected to 33? Come on, Neo.
Well, because they're hiding it in plain sight. They're Masons. So they use their number 33, whoever put this together, right? Because they know Earth is flat. So a lighthouse is there for vision, right? So you could see, so you don't crash and burn. And what are you seeing? Hold on, I got something burning.
No worries. There's a couple of different chapters in my book that directly connect to this as an explanation, right? So back in the day, we were covering the Isle of Man and taking a picture specifically of McCall Lighthouse, which is about 31 miles away from St. Bees, and we studied at great lengths the lighthouse imagery. Now, just looking at what chapter it comes in the form of, so it's chapter 20, and the chapter is called The Disturbance. So in chapter 20 of my book, called The Disturbance, I explain how we argued at great length about the distance, in case my foreshadowing isn't subtle enough for you, the distance to this lighthouse taken from an elevation measured from sea level seemed important when 10 years ago we inputted these flat earth prerequisite values into a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking earth curve calculator. Now I even take it on the chin in terms of me being alleged to be holding back the quote perfect globe proof, where Anthony Riley and myself are at the beach, actually strictly speaking on a car park, but right next to the beach, watching Muckled Lighthouse flash at the rate that lighthouse flashes. So it's got a particular pattern that you can identify the lighthouse with. And we, from the car park, were filming with a P1000, I believe at the time. It was a slightly better camera. That light. No, it wasn't. It was Anthony's missus at the time who had a fairly standardish camera that didn't have a massive zoom on it, but did have exceptionally good low light capabilities. So there were all sorts of different cameras that we were using. You can get an idea of how much we were getting into this, right? But the demands came that things like we would have to film the position that the camera is actually at with the camera, together with footage from a different camera, filming the camera, film the observation. Those were the standards that were put in place so that we could measure our height off surface level perpendicular to a plane of reference and a measured flat master reference called sea level, so that we could, with a common reference based on the altitude of Muckled Lighthouse 31 miles away, cross-reference its flat earth perpendicular altitude from sea level with our flat earth perpendicular altitude measurement from sea level to see if the distance surveyed, mapped and measured with a horizontal concept called miles was or wasn't far enough for the earth curve calculator's value that it would spit out. So in this chapter, I'm explaining the arduous process of debating about observations of distant lighthouses and how they are a flat earth prerequisite. And at the time, the scorn that would be poured on flat earthers for suggesting that the values that always gave you a Earth curve outcome, it's an Earth curve calculator, were suggested by us to be too far. As in, further than the flat Earth linear mile measurement of Earth's surface would suggest when using a begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator, and its values measured off a flat surface level for altitude in 2 different locations, and distance measured horizontally and linear. So that had to be convoluted by people who would come in, make it obvious to any onlookers, that's to say cause a disturbance, the name of the chapter, so that anybody who's onlooking would be perturbed from debating and discussing this automatically, always in effect, globe outcome from a calculator that only gave you one outcome. What's the point in me explaining all this? Well, lighthouses have been used extensively by other people in other flat earth books, not my own, to suggest that we see too far. Very irritating to me. Too far? So what, there should be a limitation to our view? No. The begging the question proof of nothing perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator makes use of flat Earth measurements to infer in mathematical terms that violate the base principle it's used for its measurements, that there's a distance to a geometric horizon that should obscure your view. It's maths. The only thing that's dictating to me what I see is my eyeballs. And if I see a lighthouse, what do I need to explain? Well, like with linear horizontal miles, I don't need to explain anything. They are what they are. I see a lighthouse. Well, why? I just see it. I've got a set of eyeballs. No, Flurf. It's not a lighthouse. It's a slightly looming non-standard refraction holographic projection of a lighthouse from behind the physical geometric sphere edge horizon derived from flat Earth measurements of altitude and distance. It's a mirage, you stupid Flurf. We see too far. I just see a lighthouse. We move on. Expanded on that one word, lighthouses, pretty well. Next, again, I've got nothing. Sundogs and hotspots. I don't know, lens flares maybe in the camera. Sundogs, I would assume that they're created in a similar fashion with your eyeball, and it's an anomaly based on the lens you're viewing it with. I have no explanation for sundogs. What benefit do they have? I mean, I've seen some amazing things when there's been certain conditions where you get a moon with an enormous ring all the way around it, for example. It's like a massive halo that fills up half the sky. Okay. What of it? What does it prove? Does that disprove somebody's suggestion? Does it prove how Earth is measured? I would say not. But who's got a comment on this?
The sundogs.
Is it the sunspots as you're referring to, Nathan? Is that what?
It says sun hotspots, but I think now that you've phrased it that way, I know what I know what it means now in shorthand form. It's saying when you put a lens on a filter on a telescope and look at the sun, you can see little black hotspots. I assume that's what it's talking about. And then when it says sundogs, it's talking about a similar thing to I described with when you describe a star in a cartoon form, you'll have like the lines coming from it. Well, that's what they're describing, but in a massive form with maybe a couple of replications of that phenomena on the horizon either side of the sun. I think that's what it's talking about when it says sundogs, and I think that's what it's talking about when it says, well, how did it phrase it? Sun hotspots.
The sundogs are an actual phenomenon that is seen quite often, and they have a certain pattern, and they're repeated, and it's basically an amazing reflection phenomena in the sky that is it's a real phenomenon. It's an optical phenomenon. It's something that's been even drawn in antiquity. People see them all the time. The use of sundogs as a flat Earth thing is really more of a firmament dome suggestion, just like rainbows. that suggests that the lens or reflecting surface that is causing the phenomenon is a firmament. So it's not flat Earth related so much as it is kind of biblical cosmology related. God made a rainbow. God makes the sun and moon in the firmament for signs and wonders, and besides time and day and seasons. So that's what that is. The hot spot, I'm pretty sure, is what you can see from various high altitude balloon photos where the sun is visible over the Earth, and it's a hot spot.
Yeah, I know what you mean now.
There.
It's not what I described before. It's the balloon footage where there's a suggestion from Flurfs that the sun is low and local because directly below it in the same frame there's a hot spot below the sun. It could be either. It could be the black dots you see with a filter. It could be the light below. We're going off a very vague list that's been written in very shorthand form, and there's 60 things on there, and obviously you've got to kind of guess or read between the lines at least in some of them. I think actually, third time's a charm, you are correct with how it's been phrased. It says sun hotspots, and when you think of sun dogs, you're not really thinking about looking through a telescope, so it's less likely to be the second suggestion by whoever it was from Discord. I think you're more likely to be correct. Sunspots meaning there's a suggestion that the sun is local. It's like, I don't know what the sun is. You don't know what the sun is. The suggestion that it's 93 million miles away is derived from flat Earth prerequisite elevation angle measurements to derive radial values, to extrapolate out into things like Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion when you're ascribing ellipses to the orbits also occupying a plane. Nevertheless, these suggestions and inferences from flat earthers are built on speculation that is unnecessary. Now, when it comes to what the sun is and how it's utilised, the local or low sun, by contrast to a 93 million miles sun, only has one thing that's ascribing actual measurements to it, and that's the heliocentric version. The heliocentric version ascribing flat Earth measurements of elevation angle, derived into extrapolated values based on bending or violating the baseline that you've measured the angles with, and extrapolating them out with a scale given to you by Christian Huygens and Kepler. Well, those extrapolations are fundamentally reliant on Earth being measured flat in the first instance. The suggestion that the sun is local or low would mean that you could ascribe an altitude to it. Simply not true. Same goes for stars. What do I mean? It's not true, because if you raise in altitude from surface level and your altitude measurement that you acquire and ascribe to the distance from the surface level is also a flat Earth prerequisite measurement from sea level. But when you are at a ascribed value measured from a flat Earth, you can measure the angle to the sun or stars and have it remain the same as if you were on the ground. If you are utilising a bubble sextant at 40,000 feet in an aeroplane, you would still get the same angle as if you were lining up the horizon in a dinghy with a mariner's sextant on the sea level itself. Both would give you the same angle measurement if you are at the same zenith or on the same zenith line in the vertical, if the plane was directly above you in the dinghy, basically. Let's make it a helicopter so no one's ultra critical that could only take place for a fraction of a second. Regardless, the point being that that measurement does not alter, so the ascribed behaviour of the sun precludes anyone ascribing an altitude distance. This is also conveyed when utilising these stars with respect to something called the celestial sphere, wrapped around a heliocentric conversion of the flat Earth measurements into a glorified protractor we call the globe Earth at radius 3959. Another linear flat Earth mile distance ascribed to area of equal altitude measured with Polaris and vernal equinox. So when you've got these conventions, in this case the increased sphericity of a celestial sphere, They are described as having an infinite distance. Now, that is just to say that you cannot actually ascribe a value to them, as Christian Huygens did in heliocentrism, by way of flat Earth measurements. That's not something you can actually do. So to ascribe incorrectly, as the heliocentrists do, a height, you're simply allowing your opponent, who has hijacked flat Earth measurements to give them that distance, into a false dichotomy, with you on one side suggesting low and local, and them saying far based on flat Earth measurements. Again, so long as the false dichotomy is argued about, nobody notes the flat Earth prerequisites that are only capable of measuring it with. It's the only option available to you, and both sides can only accept it. It's so obvious to point out how flat a mile is, as an example. It's so redundant, it goes without saying. But because it goes without saying, nobody says how flat Earth must be for a mile to be functionally useful. It goes without saying, so let's not say it. We'll say the ground bends instead. We move on. Next, Antarctic Treaty. I'll say it on camera. Antarctic Treaty.
Boy, that brings back memories. They're
Okay.
hiding land, Nathan.
You can't go to the Antarctic continent unless you've got permission. And it's agreed that the countries in the Antarctic Treaty will all abide by the same conditions and rules and regs thereof. If you go there and you don't have permission, you'll be escorted away at gunpoint, like the Chilean government have done a couple of times in the last 10 years that I've known of. What else is there to
Hold on
say?
a second. They just had the big TFE thing, and those guys went there. Somebody was screaming, "Where are the guns?"
Well, they went there with permission, though, didn't they? They got permission to go there. I mean, if they went there at all, there's plenty of people that suggest that they didn't even go. I mean, I don't care either way. They travelled in a flat Earth directionality, south, measured with degrees from north, in a horizontal azimuth. They got in a plane and flew in flight level, parallel to surface level, measured with sea level. Okay. So they arrive having travelled in a flat Earth orientation at a flat Earth altitude measured from a flat Earth sea level, and then they proceeded to, allegedly, measure flat Earth elevation angles of the sun for a 24-hour period. Unless you're some dumbass called Dave, and then you don't have to use a tripod. But other than that, everyone else succeeded in measuring Earth flat for the full 24-hour period. You know, they got a rotation with respect to the same orientation as azimuth, so that they could measure the degrees of rotation horizontally, and they measured angles with respect to said horizontal they lined up their tools with when they levelled them, so that they could get the position angular of the sun over a 24-hour period. Again, unless your name's Dave McKeegan, then you're dumb as shit and incapable of using a very basic tool like tripod. But other than that, you know, other than the incapable, they measured Earth flat for the full 24 hours after flying there with respect to a flat plane perpendicular measured for flat Earth altitude or flat Earth sea level in a flat Earth direction. So what's that? Antarctic Treaty? Yeah, there's still a treaty. You're not supposed to go there unless you've got permission. Like, you had to fill out a load of forms to do that, lads, if you did it at all. If it's true that you went there, I don't care either way. I got a phone call. Hi, is that Nathan? Yes, it is. I'm running a live show. Hi there, my name's McToon. Hi, McToon. Yeah, we saw the Earth being measured flat for a full 24 hours. What have you got to say for yourself? Well, you measured Earth flat. Where are the guns, Nathan? There weren't any here. Okay, but you did measure Earth flat again. I've told you this 100 times.
Hold on a second. See, but Nathan, it's the Antarctic Treaty. Why is there a treaty anyway? What's going on? What are they hiding? Forget about the distance. We all know that's flat. But what are they hiding there?
Who cares? Why are you asking me? What are they hiding? Maybe nothing. Hiding? Who said they were hiding anything?
So why is there a treaty?
I don't know. I didn't
Why
make
did
it.
all the governments get together and agree
let's just stop
on
here a
this?
second. YouTuber, not international diplomat.
Nathan, but you're being naive now. All countries get together and agree on this one thing. So that means that there's something there that they don't want the public to see.
Yeah, I heard you. All the countries agree on it. Let's just do it one more time. YouTuber, not international diplomat. Did you hear me the second time? Are we going to do it 100 times like I had to do with Toon? You're measuring Earth flat though, aren't you, Toon?
Yeah, but you're a YouTuber, right? And you're an influencer, right? So, listen, they got people talking about it. They devised it very well because you ignore the distance traveled to get there to argue about why are they hiding what's in Antarctica? Why did all the countries agree on it?
Who says
You
they're
see how
hiding
slick
something?
they are?
Hold on, you've done it again. Who says they're hiding anything?
Can you go there
That's
and
not-
just freely explore?
I don't know.
The perception is that it's so governed and controlled, and I think they lean on that, obviously, as far as, you know, we can't go there because it's scientific or military only since, you know, the early 1900s, and it was supposedly first discovered in the Feast of Nonsense kind of a way of looking at it, I guess, for the truth.
So which is it? I'm now really confused. Is it there's a treaty between the countries that says we cannot go there? Or is it, look, I'm here measuring Earth flat, where's the guns? Well, I mean, which is it?
They'll let you go to a certain section, but that's it. You can't freely explore that place. That's the problem.
Who cares? Does somebody want something from some icy area? What are you after?
How do you
What
know
are
it's
hoping is there?
icy? Go to
Gold?
Admiral Byrd. He said there's hot pockets.
Oh,
He
that
said
brings
there's
us-
tropical places there.
Nicely brought to number 35. Admiral Baird says there's more land. Number
There
35.
you go.
Okay.
Didn't they go there, like, was it Ernest Shackleton, and like they went there? I mean, if everything is correct, I mean, I don't know, I'm just spitballing. Early 1900s had like supposedly 4,000 people with ships and boats, if that's even something possible around that time frame. And ever since then, it's been, you know, years after lockdown on, you know, forbidden area, protected.
This has got a sketch from Red Dwarf where Rimmer and Lister are trapped on a planet that's covered in ice and they're marooned. That's the name of the show. And they're talking about the sacrifice that Shackleton took. And Scott describes in his diary the last words. He says, I'm going out for a walk. I may be some time. And Rimmer says, well, how do we know that's the case? Where did we get that information from? Scott's diary. He says, of course Scott's going to say he made some heroic speech when he's eating his buttocks with gravy. In other words, he's eaten him and then written in his diary that he made the ultimate sacrifice. He said something very heroic. I'm just going out for a walk. I may be some time. In Scott's diary. Again, what's the point of this? I mean, I should have really started with this. It's just the feast of nonsense, though, isn't it? It doesn't have any useful application. And as soon as you start suggesting that, well, we've gone to Antarctica and shown that we can be here, jobs are good un, let's just chill for a bit. Well, the fart sniffers want to seem more intellectual. So, you know, they start setting up tripods and measuring the sun for 24 hours. Apart from Dave is a dumbass and couldn't quite cope. But alleged to, you know, get the 24-hour sun from an area that they're definitely in, according to people that have suggested that they're not. They weren't even there. Now, I don't care. They measured Earth flat to get there, to map the territory, to know the distance, to know the altitude, to have a sea level to begin with, to plonk them on an area that they're going to, set up a level tripod, level to an equatorial plane, and subsequently measure Earth flat for a 24-hour period. That's what we got in this arena. That's what the people who suggested they'd been there did with their time. They spent the whole time measuring Earth flat. Literally, the whole time they were there, they measured Earth flat. Other than Dave, couldn't quite cope with it. Dave McKeegan, what a wally.
You didn't tie it, Neil. You didn't tie it around and do a call back to aliens. That's what they're hiding, dude.
That's where the Nordics come from.
That's right.
No, the Southics.
The Southics, they're the very, very, very tiny little pygmy-style people. They're really, really short and grey.
Or the
Or it
hiding
could be
ones
the
in
blue
massive
lights
bases in
they're hiding
Antarctica.
too.
Did you ever see the movie called The Thing?
Yes.
Where was they in the movie The Thing?
Dun,
Antarctica,
dun, dun,
right? And
in
what was going on?
Antarctica. Yes, they were. Right, number 37. Michelson-Morley experiment proved Earth is stationary. Sorry. The Nathan Oakley experiment proved Earth is not a roast chicken. Very important experiment, I'll have you know. Let's just break this down. That's a non-positive claim. You don't have to prove that Earth is not on the back of a turtle. That's not necessary. If you want to claim Earth is on the back of a turtle, that's an extraordinary claim in the positive that you, the claimant, would have to prove. What's that you say? I need to show how it's not on a turtle? No, I don't. Now you have been told that Earth is spinning. That's to say Earth is claimed to be a non-inertial turning reference frame, described flat mathematically. So that the suggestion that we have a deviation observed from said Earth as a non-inertial turning reference frames. Can you hear that? You and your reference frames are ruined, Nathan. I'm sorry, I can hear Simon down in the distance. Telling me my reference... I don't have any reference frames. I don't have a claim. What's my claim? It's not doing something. Not a roast chicken. Not on the back of a turtle. Not necessary. Yeah, Michelson-Morley isn't an experiment. What's an experiment? It's the actualization of a hypothesis. What's a hypothesis? It's the establishment, suppositionally, of a cause and effect relationship, mirrored with a zero difference result called a null. It's formulated as follows. If A, then B. That's an alternative hypothesis. It suggests, as a supposition, that A causes B. It's yet to be validated and not to be taken as an explanation, and mirrored by something that formulates within the hypothesis construction a violation of the law of non-contradiction. That's the null. Zero difference result. If A, not B. You can't both cause A to occur and not occur simultaneously. A cannot both cause and not cause B. That's a hypothesis. Only one of those two outcomes will be validated at the experiment stage, where you vary A and see if it causes B. That's an experiment. Actualization of a hypothesis. Now, A and B also have rules attached to them. B is your observed natural phenomena. The thing you observe in nature to occur that you question why it occurred. That's to say you see something happening and go, why did that happen? Then you formulate suppositional causal influences. I say A causes B. Oh, well, that's an alternative hypothesis. All you need is a null and you've got a full scientific prediction. When you suggest that A will not cause B, and then see if it does or doesn't. That's an experiment. What's the Michelson-Morley? Oh, we watch these lights... hold on, sorry, this is man-made. No, we already know the cause of this. A man made it. You start by observing natural phenomena. Michelson-Morley is not an experiment. Meanwhile, it's being suggested by Flerfs to be not only an experiment, but an experiment that proves non-positivity. You don't need to... What's your causal influencer for something not happening? Oh, you don't have one. Oh, it's a null validation. No, you're not testing the null. That's your zero difference to your nothing happening result. That's to say you want to see that A does cause B. You're testing that A will cause B. Not that it won't. You're not testing for the null. You're testing for the cause of a natural phenomena. Earth turn, you say? Well, firstly, to describe this mathematically requires a flat plane, non-inertial in nature, for you to be on turning beneath an inertial frame where you see things seem to curve because you're turning beneath. Like when they say that sniper fire curves because Earth turns underneath the bullet. Oh, so bullet leaves gun, flies through the air and deviates, not because it's not travelling straight, it's travelling straight, but appears to drift because you turn underneath. The aeroplane, drone, hot air balloon, and bullet. Oh, that doesn't happen. You can hover a drone and it won't go anywhere. The plane hasn't got its flight time shortened when travelling west because the Earth turns underneath. You don't have hot air balloons travelling up and waiting for the next country along to come to it. No. The suggestion that Earth is turning comes with a claim that Earth turns underneath. Pendulums knock over little dominoes. Yeah? That's their claim. It fails immediately. What's that? I can still hear it echoing. You and your reference frames are ruined, Nathan. I don't have any. I'm not going to support a non-positive claim that we're not turning. It's required that the claimant prove their extraordinary claim. You can read all about this in my book as well. It's in the chapter called Rotation. I think it's about chapter 7. Anyway, I think we might have time for one more. What number were we up to? Michael Samorley. Picard, the first man to reach the stratosphere, said that Earth seemed like a disc with upturned edges. Just an anecdote. Picard says it's flat with upturned edges. Okay. Got any measurements? This is purely anecdotal. Meanwhile, we measure Earth flat from sea level. It's practically applied so that planes don't crash into the ground, that we've surveyed with topographical deviations accurate to the millimetre when referencing them perpendicular to the horizontal plane of reference we call sea level. So what's that? Picard says it looks like a bowl? Who gives a tiny shite? We measure it flat.
What was his height off of?
You got that just as I was about to say it. What was his what was the altitude Picard reached? Perpendicular to a plane of reference measured from the master reference we call sea level. That's a flat Earth perpendicular altitude measurement for him to postulate that it looks flat with a bowl upturned edge styly. Who cares? It's measured. Got his altitude, then we've got a flat Earth measurement. Next. The sun.
His eye level would be parallel with surface level, also, wouldn't it?
Didn't catch that. One more time.
His eye level would be parallel with surface level.
Yes, that's correct. Yes, that's correct. All axioms and prerequisites permanently in effect when measuring Earth. Okay, so this is number 39. The sun and moon visible in the same sky. And? Who cares? Like, literally, who cares? So they're both moving in different paths at a slightly different rate. We also utilise these to derive concepts like time, like months, like years, with flat Earth elevation angles to them, with averages taken. So what? So they're in the sky at the same time. And literally, who cares? Anybody else got anything on that? Last for this session today. Rockets, guy penises, go straight up. Rockets go straight up. What's up?
Repeat that?
Rockets go straight up. What's up? What, like perpendicular to a plane of reference? Horizontal in orientation for it to be 90 degrees to the vertical to describe this vector? What, up? How up are we talking? Oh, we can measure it from sea level in a vertical orientation? Yeah, we can, yeah. Why were we discussing this again? Earth's measured flat, though, right? Yes, definitely.
Well, we could argue for 10 minutes about how rockets that we see don't actually go up. They make a parabolic arc.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
They
so
actually
they're-
follow a flat Earth ballistic trajectory describing distance with respect to altitude in a parabolic curved motion, only capable of descriptions from mathematical derivations after measuring Earth flat for accurate horizontal linear distance and perpendicular altitude for its ballistic trajectory. What's that? They don't go a flat Earth orientation of up. They actually go a flat Earth orientation of up with respect to a flat Earth measured horizontal linear distance. Yes, it's called a ballistic trajectory. It's Act 2. Am I ruining this for everyone in the theatre? Am I destroying your suspension of disbelief? Am I alienating you when I describe the flat Earth only ballistic trajectory that it has to take? My bad. I'm sorry. What's that? You want my kids to be taken away from me and the police are going to be sent round? I see. Very interesting. I didn't realise you enjoyed the stage show that much. You wanted to believe they were dangling like Peter Pan? Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to ruin this for you. Peter Pan really can't fly, though. You do know that, right? They're just on wires. But that's scene 3. This is Act 2. We're just in the flat Earth measuring ballistic trajectory stage at this particular juncture of the show, I'm afraid. Sorry to ruin it. I didn't mean to alienate you from your little suspension of disbelief there, dweeb. You wanted to believe that you could be like the men flying around. Oh, I'm so sorry. You can't. Bullshit. You stupid fart sniffing dweebs. Right, I think we're going to draw a line under it there. Unless anybody else has got anything to add to rockets never going straight up. Nope. Well, in that case, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. If you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Jolly good. Man, it's so hot here. I'm sweating like a little piggy.
Oink,
They
oink.
sell this thing called air conditioning.
Now, what I've got is burning hot, bright lights. That's what I've got.
Brits just don't believe in air conditioning, right?
Not worth it for like the 5 days a year that it's hot.
Nathan, it's
Yes.
been way more than 5 days you've been saying you're hot. And it's worth it even if it was 3 days of heat. Get that AC connected, will you?
I can't. It's not, the building doesn't facilitate it. If I do really well and go out on a tour and build the channel up and the channel starts earning decent ad revenue and it brings in some new viewers and they're all like, I want to support this guy so we can do another 10 years of this. And then they start super chatting and PayPaling me. And then they start recommending the book by talking about how wonderful it is to the next man who happens to go out and buy a copy. If all that happens, I might just be able to pay my mortgage off on this place. I was going to say I might be able to buy a house and put air conditioning into it, but I think even then that's probably a stretch.
We'll see. God will provide. But in the meantime, there's this thing called the internet where you can find out how to make a room air conditioner out of a styrofoam cooler and an electric fan and cool the room down.
Yes, that sounds very noisy. Anyway, I'll be all right. I'll live. I can cope with being a bit sweaty during the live show. That's one of those sacrifices I'm willing to make.
Hey, there's something on the non-positive claim. Excuse me. That I want to see if this is the non-positive, or see what you think. Is that on the claim that gas pressure requires containment, which is basically a law of physics, and that's not debatable, right? Usually the first rebuttal that comes is, well, show us your globe, show us your container. How do I basically just debate or just rebut with, what container? I didn't mention any container. I just mentioned that you can't have gas pressure without containment, period. But in order to shy away from the debate of how they can claim that there's a vacuum in the sky, they throw back that, where's your dome? Anyhow, that's what I was thinking about when you were talking about the non-positive claim. You don't have to prove the Earth isn't moving. I don't have to prove the Earth has a firmament on it or a dome or a big container on it. I just have to support the claim that you require a container or some kind of containment to get gas pressure. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of when we were talking about the non-positive claims. Don't know how it's related, but there it is.
Indeed.
And you're doing very well about referring back to your chapters of your book. Good job. Pat on the back.
Yeah, just getting the practice in.
Speaking of that, I posted, there's a old video, I think it's 2 years old or whatever, between you, Patrick Gunnels, and Earth. What's the name of his channel? Don't care.
That was the guy with the air?
Yeah.
To get the air.
Yeah, but it's an excellent example of you allowing them to whistle past the measurements. And I thought that was kind of funny. And that basically how, I think the very start, before the quote unquote debate started, you guys got talking about the scientific method. And your reply to him is that, oh, you don't know science. You don't know science. Or you don't know what the scientific method is what started getting him all triggered. Anyhow, I posted some stuff to the Master B, some observations. I think that when you get maybe cornered into a slight debate when you're talking about your book, that original type of argument, you don't know science and you don't know stuff like that, will be put to the wayside. And
Time doesn't hold it in a container.
And if I could say something else, Josh, you do bring up the concept of gravity, and that's what holds our so-called atmosphere here. I would ask you, what evidence do you have that gas gets acted upon by so-called gravity?
Air.
What?
Air.
That's not an answer. What evidence do you have that gas gets pulled on by gravity?
Air.
Let's all laugh out loud together.
I actually listen to that debate regularly.
Nathan, in that particular show, didn't they
Space
mute you
44
quite a
Super
few
8.
times?
Yeah. Why?
Just drawing back on my memory to find out, that they were just muting you. Like it was okay. So when people say, hey, come over here and debate me, why? So you can mute us? When something comes devastating down the pipes?
The horizon that you see on the ocean is going to be a little bit, I guess, further away than the horizon you're. No, you're not looking at the curvature. And the reason you're not looking at the curvature is because the Earth is really big. And I hate to go to like that Professor Dave dude's kind of way he says that the Earth is really big. Is typically you have every 75 miles is you're going to have 1 degree of curvature, right? Can we agree on that? Every 75 miles on a.
Yeah, I see straight away.
Miles, you say?
Miles, you say? Degrees, you say? Times have changed, eh? It's amazing how much the rhetoric changes in a couple of years. So I can't remember, about 2 weeks ago, I specifically was responding to one of the commenters that was saying, you'd need to cover this, and then he listed off a few Feast of Nonsense subjects and said, you can't just keep doing the same show over and over and over again for 10 years. And then in response to that, I was like, no, it might look to the onlooker like today's show is the same as yesterday's show, right? A good example would be yesterday we talked about aliens. Today we talked about aliens. Yesterday we talked about magnetic north not being vertical. Today we talked about magnetic north not being vertical. Now, does that mean that they're the same show, first and foremost? No, that's an impossibility. It's a live show. Definitely can't be the same. It's going to be different. But it's more like a glacier ripping out huge chunks of the landscape as it moves along at a fairly steady pace. But it just doesn't look to the onlooker who's there for 30 seconds like things are progressing at all. It looks like it's not moving. When you look back, what is this, a couple of years ago? I don't know the date on it, whatever. A few short years ago, we collectively whistled past flat earth prerequisites when they were, as exampled in current times, used by our bull-believing opponents to assert that earth has sphericity. Miles, you say? Where are you going to get those? They're horizontal and linear, so to acquire anything that moves forward from whatever he says in the next breath will require Earth's been measured flat to acquire this convention used in measurement with respect to Earth's surface, linear and horizontal. So we've got flat miles then, and they're measured. That's the end of the discussion. Nothing else needs to be said from this point forward. I'm sure there's plenty that does, because I haven't noticed. You can see it in my eyes. I haven't noticed that he's used a flat Earth prerequisite.
On a curved Earth, every 75 miles, you're going to have 1 degree of curvature.
No. 75 miles is a flat Earth prerequisite. That's incorrect.
It's not correct. Okay, well, how about this? Then how do you measure curvature?
That's your claim.
No, how
I was still on fire though, eh? How do you measure curvature? That's your claim. You gotta admit I am fucking ace.
How does flat earthers say that there's no curvature through this measurement?
But your claim that, okay, you have a claim that there's curvature, and Patrick's asked, where's your proof that the horizon's curvature? And you've said it isn't, and then you've given up this measurement.
No. What I was trying to say is that when you're looking out there, the curvature is so...
My bad. So you've said that there's curvature at a certain distance, and you've given us some mathematics for that curvature.
He asked me the
my
question.
bad, still in the middle of the same sentence. My bad, still in the middle of the same sentence. My bad.
All right, finish the sentence, Nathan, but keep it short.
I would if I was allowed to. I'm just not allowed to.
Oh, go ahead. You're fine. We're not in an aggressive platform here. We're very
You've just spoken through me 3 times. 3 times you've spoken through me. Don't tell me you're not aggressive when you've just spoken through me 3 times. I'll try and finish the same sentence. Still trying to finish the same sentence. That's 4 times. Not an aggressive platform, but you've consistently talking through me. Consistently. That's 4 times. 4 times.
Go ahead.
Don't need to be told to go ahead. Just need to be let to go ahead without you talking through me a 5th time.
Take
so you've rattled off some numbers.
No, here. Go ahead.
Doesn't seem like I'm getting an opportunity to talk. We're not aggressive. We just talk straight through you 5 times, and then when you start the 5th attempt, the host will do it as well. What a pair of cunts.
And go.
Well, to
I don't
be
need
fair,
permission. I just need the people who are interrupting me.
Right.
Say again?
Well, to be fair, they are passive aggressive, so they're kind of right.
What, they're not being aggressive because passive aggression isn't... Yeah, it is. Passive aggression is just aggression. It's just liars. Need to not do that. 6th attempt. You've rattled off some numbers for where Earth curve is. Now, given that you're the one in the affirmative position for Earth curve, I'd expect you to know the mathematics for Earth curve. I know them, and Patrick knows them. He even stated them about 3 minutes ago. 1.22 times the square root of the observer's height in feet. So it's not a set distance, as you stated. It seems you don't know your own mathematics. So that's not a good start, given it's your affirmative position. I'm not going to be telling you, on your demand, how flat earthers say it doesn't work when you don't know the positive claim for it. You should know. It's your claim.
Okay, so 1.22 times the observer's height. Where does this formula
No, that's wrong. That's called fading facts from the behaviour panel. 1.22 times the square... You mean you don't know? Way to confirm that you don't know when you mumble off half of the derived formula that relies on flat earth linear mile measurements and distance perpendicular to sea level. Obviously, I'm not saying that now and I can't turn back the time, but nevertheless, it is still amusing.
Okay, well, what you just said there. So, Patrick, what...
Well, Earth curves, what you said, my opponent who doesn't think there is any. What you said. Great clip. Is there any more, or is that basically it? Surf Duddy.
Oh, I put a couple of timestamps in there. I kind of like the whatever was the first one, the first clip I put in there. When you were just talking before the debate, when you're talking about science and stuff like that, I was just amazed at how
this mouse backpack
that. Well, no. Here's what I was thinking is that this guy said that he totally agrees about vaccines and stuff like that and conspiracies, and his whole channel is about the conspiracies and stuff. So this is a callback to, all roads of conspiracies are leading to flat Earth. So he's good on the conspiracy stuff, except the flat Earth part.
So he's good on the feast of nonsense we all decry, but many roads led people to flat Earth with, including this guy. He was just led and became an anti-flat earther when he got here.
Yeah. And the Feast of Nonsense is what they're making their money on. I think he said he came to it in 2014 and started studying it and stuff like that. I think he just saw that as the cash cow, like with, the other big wigs, McLovin and all them, that they could just do this debunking anti-flat earth stuff rather than putting their own, obviously they don't know their own position because they've only been debating the Feast of Nonsense anti-flat earth. It's not flat because, or we see it as flat because the earth's so big. That's all they know. And they can only stick to their worldview that they haven't researched themselves. They haven't looked at it for truth. I think this guy said that, not the Jason guy that was talking now, but the guy up the top left was, he was into looking for the truth. He wants the truth. And they're not looking for the truth. I think that's where I started and was watching it and got amused that it was a perfect example of them whistling past the measurements, and you really not even have time to explain. I mean, even if you were doing the rhetoric of, measurements, you say, distance, you say, you wouldn't have gotten a chance to do that.
Oh, I don't know. He said 1 degree for every 70. Well, it's either 69 or statute and 60 nautical, but he got it wrong. Yeah. I called him on it. I'm not going to give him, well, actually, your extrapolation is off. And here's your extrapolation in the correct formatting for your position that I should stand against. But just so you've got the right tools to attack me with, here they are. I'm like, you're wrong. Here's a value for the distance to horizon, as opposed to the curvature formulated with 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles if he stated it correctly. But what's he actually describing? Well, he's describing 1 degree of declination to the star Polaris for every 60 nautical miles, or to any star at a given time, if you could back away from it over a period, which is why I use Polaris, because you can't. In the period that you've backed away from it, it's moved. But with Polaris, that convention holds true always. 1 degree, that's a flat Earth measurement. For every 60 nautical miles, what flat Earth distance? So his suggestion of curvature is the convolution of the curve of the protractor we use now to describe how a globe gets created from the internal base with respect to Polaris at your zenith if you're in the centre of a ball, a glorified protractor, and back away from it to give you a convention of areas of equal elevation, decreasing in radial value as you approach Polaris, or increasing in value as you back away from it to the tune of 1 degree for every 60 nautical miles. Those are the areas of equal elevation that eventually get wrapped around the protractor that was measuring them with. That's what he's alluding to. Now, the rebuttal is, that's a flat Earth measurement. What are you talking about? Well, you said it was 1 degree. What's 1 degree? What's 2 straight lines meeting at a vertex? Yeah, that's right. As you back away from the star, measured with a flat Earth baseline, you'll see a 1 degree in declination for every 60 nautical miles, or 69 statute miles, that you back away from the ground position of that star. That's a flat Earth measurement. Now, I didn't tell him that. I told him he got it wrong, which he did. But that's majoring on the minors now that we know what we know in terms of all roads leading back to a flat Earth prerequisite, in this case, the elevation angle he's describing with the degree he's appealing to.
I want to know how you would answer him today. That would be fun to listen to.
Well, I'd just say exactly what I've said now. 1 degree for every let's phrase it as he did to incorrectly verbatim parrot. 1 degree for every 70 miles? What's a degree? A flat Earth measurement from surface level. Earth's measured flat for this assertion.
Game over.
No, what would Josh say in rebuttal to that? Like you begging the question?
I don't know, Josh is pretty dumb. Might say air.
I was just gonna say, he'll say air. Air, you say?
Like I say, I'd have used it as a useful opportunity to say, right, but you thought it was curvature. Well, the curve of the protractor you're measuring the degree declination with is converted to be a sphere. But the measurement that you're appealing to, 1 degree declination for every 70 incorrect miles, is a declination with respect to a plane. Now, if you take that as a Polaris-centric system, you can wrap a protractor from the Polaris center point out to the equator, which is the minimum elevation angle that you could measure, the maximum area of equal elevation, otherwise known as the equator. But those are flat Earth measurements that get converted to a glorified protractor with the latitude lines wrapped around it. But to put it into any useful practical application, you need to be inside that ball on the equatorial plane to apply it to a celestial sphere, so you can get your positional information with respect to the extended celestial plane, with a map on that projected out to a map that you call the globe. But the globe becomes nothing more than a reified, glorified protractor. That's why you think 1 degree is the degree of the curve of the tool you're measuring it with. After conversion from the flat Earth measurement you're actually acquiring with this 1 degree, 2 straight lines, meeting at a vertex with a GP below Polaris, to extrapolate out this convention you've incorrectly ascribed at 70 miles. Now, the chances are someone will have interrupted me before that little 60-second amble about how they're measuring a flat Earth for this claim. I'm sure it would have probably got interrupted before I got to the end of the sentence. But such is life. Doesn't change how flat a measurement is in this instance. 1 degree, all right? So measuring a flat baseline and a degree up to the star.
I think all your explanations are like next level for people like him who can't even get his miles per degree. I mean, I think he said 70, right?
Yes.
So he had no idea what he was talking about. Getting him to accept the concept that its distance is a horizontal distance. I think in a situation like that, if it was happening today, say you're being interviewed about the book and it gets aggressive, passive aggressive, that about all you're going to be able to get out is a nice, calm, that distance is linear and horizontal. Is it not? And let them cogitate on that. Cogitate is the word for today. And that's about all you're going to be able to get out. And just keep pointing back to the measurements.
I don't think I'd even suggest, is it not? Because that invites them to make it into a rebuttable point or a debating point. It's like you don't offer it up as a suggestion. You slap them out of the face with this absolute fact.
Okay, yeah, I agree. That's just the way I say stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
It's flat, is it not? But yeah,
Miles
I agree.
are flat, are they
the
not?
way you do it is good.
But that's opens the door for them to say, no, they're not. They're curved. All right. Can you describe how much curve they've got, or will you need a horizontal linear distance measurement convention to describe that with? Oh, we only describe the curve with respect to the horizontal linear mile measurements. Yeah, miles are flat. We wouldn't have had that little conversation in between unless I did, but for the fact that I invited you to suggest otherwise, and you did. See what I mean?
Yeah, you just need to say, no, the horizon is horizontal, level is level.
Yeah.
And then the only response they got is, oh, no, level. Well, you just don't know what level means.
Rather than, is it not, I prefer the term, you don't have to like it.
There you go.
Because you don't have to like it.
Well, Surf Daddy's right. You got to agree on what level is. Have them define level.
No, again,
and
I
then
disagree.
laugh at them.
No. Again, I disagree. You don't have to agree what level is. Right? What level is going to be axiomatically applied if you are putting this stuff into practical application. So no, you don't have to agree on it. It's not an agree-disagree subject. It's not debatable.
Yeah, but okay, so you're going to be arguing what level is, and that is level. But they're going to be arguing what they think level is.
But does that alter what level is when it's put into practical application? Right, so who cares?
But that's what I'm saying. Make him define level and then laugh at him.
Yeah. I mean,
at some point, you give them enough rope that they end up.
If you want the debate, but it's not debatable, so it's kind of fart sniffy to do so. You're just lording over your intellectual superiority at that point. And I don't dispute it, right? I've built 10-year career on doing exactly that.
Well, I don't think that's not showing your superiority.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's level. Level is level. It's a joke that they think level is equidistant from the center of a ball. I mean, that's a joke. I mean, you're just trying to get it through their heads that this is something you deal with daily level. I don't know.
It all depends on the different situations. I might actually just since he's going to ramble anyway and going to interrupt you anyway, just basically say the fact, level is horizontal, miles are flat, and then let him ramble until he hangs himself. And you're sitting there just shaking your head and letting the audience see what an idiot he is and that he's not making sense.
See, but I think if that debate was happening right now with Patrick Arnold and everybody, I think how Nathan breaks it down now is penny dropping, right? And I just wonder if the penny would drop on some of them guys. Unless you're a total zealot and you ignore it. But I mean, it's eye-opening.
No, they're live. Pennies aren't going to drop on a live or even a pre-recorded show where someone is publicly being shamed by his own ignorance. And they're going to get more and more and more aggressive, depending on the show, defending their ignorance because
that depends on how. Except, Daddy, would would you, if a penny dropped on you in a different situation, would you resist it? Really? If you thought something was one way and somebody shows you direct evidence that it's actually opposite from what you think, I do not think you would be resisting, live show or not.
Well, that's because you know me a little bit. I wouldn't put myself in a situation where I was debating something that I had no idea about, and where I was put in the position of anti-debating. I've had too many. I mean, since high school, I've been in debate.
Forget about debate. If somebody brings you evidence of something and you confirm that, and all of a sudden oh shoot, and the penny drops, you're going to be like it was when the penny dropped with the measurements for all of us. You're not going to resist something. It could be anything, but you're not going to resist it if you're an honest person. You're not going to resist something that's obvious.
No, I'm not going to. But the person he's debating in that video is not being honest with himself, and he is in a public forum where he's got eyes on him, and he knows that.
Yeah, but they're following a religion.
Yeah.
By faith, that's their religion. They got consensus in their minds. They got consensus. They got all the science. The whole world knows it's a globe. So this is what you're dealing with when you're speaking to one of these people. So you need a penny dropping moment.
Right. And you need to drop the penny for the people who are receptive to that. And in those kind of forums, you have to consider your audience and play to the people who are receptive. And
the audience is going to hear. The audience is going to hear what you say. When you're speaking to that guy one-on-one, the audience is hearing it. You're trying to get a point across to him. The audience is hearing it. So I understand when you say it, but you're not just speaking to him to deal with the audience. They're the they just reap the benefits of that. But you're trying to point out to this person, look, it's measured flat. Miles are flat. You're talking distance, that's all flat. Linear measurements. What are we talking about here? And the audience, they reap the rewards of that.
Yeah, as long as the finer details are kind of left for later. I would argue that, when Nathan's talking about how...
Give me an example of a finer detail.
Well, when Nathan was just talking about, going on and on about linear distances and about the protractor. And this is how this is measured, and this is how the flat Earth measurements are turned into a sphere. You're going to lose the people who are just interested in the penny drop. The penny drop is we measure the Earth, the surface of the Earth, with respect to horizontal, in all cases, without exceptions. And the small examples are elevations, linear distances, vertical heights, and an example
height over distance,
rise over, and you call that rise over run, or airline pilots would call that their glide slope, and water's level. And we use water. We use water levels all the time. I just put up a post of guys using a water level, and I got like 3 or 4 people going, "Oh, wow, that's great! I'm stealing that."
Yeah, but water levels have been in this arena since the start.
Yeah, but when have you used a water level? 99% of people don't use those things.
I use them all the time.
Yeah, well, you're a construction guy, and you're special. But
Yeah, but even people hanging pictures in their house use a water level.
Do they? Do they really? No, they've got lasers. They've got satellites. They've got technology. They've got satellites to do that.
Yeah, but you know what? You know the water in those little tubes. Don't you see it's curved, flat earther?
Yeah, people just don't get that. But I showed two guys using a cartoon of guys using a water level to make sure their fence posts are at the correct height and over a terrain. And that, for some people, yeah, that's what dropped the penny. And it's really needs to be kept that simple in order for people to understand the simple way we measure the earth for all practical purposes. That's the other thing. The practical use of measurements and how we practically operate on earth in all cases is a very good point that I use a lot. When people, start going on about sun distances or age of the earth or all the other nonsense that has no practical purpose. If you can't point to a practical use for any kind of measurement or any kind of science, so to speak, then it's probably not true, or it can't be proven to be true. Axioms, practical use is what will, I think, help the normies with the penny drop. But the example, like you're saying, the example of what I think will lose people in a debate or interview or whatever is when the finer description of what we're doing, like the example of how we take the flat earth measurements and turn it into a ball. That stuff is the next level once you realize that it's all measured flat. And in most cases, Nathan, you're not going to have enough time to get to that explanation of how we turn the measurements into the ball. Just pointing out miles are flat and helping people realize that that is an axiom, that is true, and not letting them get beyond it with arguing anything else is what will help more people see the point and kind of ding, penny drop.
Yes, I approve this message.
What is the message? Earth is measured flat. How did your wife say when you asked her about the book? What did she come across? Or did she how did she phrase it?
Just walked through, actually. She said, I know for sure Earth is measured flat. Was that about right, hun? When I asked you what your overall impression of the book was, you said, well, I don't necessarily follow all the complicated stuff, but I understand for sure that Earth is measured flat. I think that was what I've been telling people.
In all circumstances or something.
Hold on. That's what I'm telling people you've said. Was that a good enough paraphrasing of what you said when I asked you your opinion of the book? Oh, she said she understood that Earth was measured flat in all circumstances.
Yeah, that's what I was looking for. That last part. In all circumstances.
Yeah, that was basically the sentiment that she parroted off to me when we'd finished, and I asked her what she thought of it. I understand that Earth is measured flat in all circumstances. So there you go.
Any word on book? Because my wife woke up. She was like, "You got the book? Did you get the book?" She had some sort of dream that the book came. We ordered books, and I was showing her the book.
No, not yet. I'll let you know. I mean, like I say, there won't be much fanfare. It'll just be like, oh, by the way, it's available now. There's a link below. Like I said, about half a dozen times so far. That's where the real hard work begins.
Is Patrick Gunnell on your list of
yes.
PR contacts?
Yes, he is. I'll tell you about it after the show ends. So with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you for liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
But when you measure it flat, it contradicts that. I'm spitting flat facts and that. And I know you don't like that. Google Maps is flat, it presents elevation profiles like that. I'm a spitting flat earth king. Sentence has a ring, doing my own thing. If earth was a big roast chicken, factually finger licking chicken. We just got the measurements missing. I'm spitting eggs and begs, begging the question lesson. I've said it before, time after time. I'm the spitting flat earth king of rhyme.